Have you ever wondered if you should go to art school? Is it necessary for a career in art? Is it even beneficial to you? I definitely did. I thought it was something that you had to do if you wanted anyone to take you seriously in the art world. So I tried it twice, and I've made this video to talk to you about the good, the bad, and the downright awful things about art school. Before we get started, I just want to give you a little heads up. My laptop is struggling a lot with video editing at the moment. It's crashing every 5 minutes, so while I will do my very best to edit this video, I cannot promise that it will be as well edited as previous videos, and that may be the case for the next few months, while I work really hard to save to build my very first PC. If you enjoy my videos and you'd like to help out, you can head on over to my Ko-fi, the link is in my description. All shop orders, commissions, donations will be going towards purchasing components and parts for building my very first PC, and I'm hoping to document the process here as well, so you'll get a video out of it, and it would mean the absolute world to me if you wanted to help me along. Anyway, back to the video. Just a small disclaimer, this is all my own opinion and my own experiences, and what didn't work for me might be perfect for you. I'm making this video to try and help you feel a little more informed about your own decisions, and I'll be covering not just the things that I didn't enjoy, but also the things I miss and I really love. If you went to art school and it was the best decision you ever made, I am so happy for you that you found something that worked for you. I am not here to bash on it, only to share my own experiences. And with that done, let's get into it. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I've always loved art, so it's kind of a natural progression to go into art school and study it further. In school, during my GCSEs and A-levels, I was one of those art kids who spent all of their time in the art rooms. I threw all of my energy into art, and so my teachers encouraged me to go to art school next. It made sense. I flew through the interview and I was so excited to be accepted, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my career at that point, with my life. I knew I wanted to create art, but I didn't really think it was an option. I thought I had to find a more practical way to do it. At the time, I was a freelance makeup artist and face painter, not something I considered a long-term career for me, but I really enjoyed it and the creative freedom that I got from it. And let me tell you, it was a shock when I discovered just how limiting art school felt for me. Now, this won't be the same for everyone, or even every art school, but this was my experience and my thoughts on it. So here are the 5 reasons I quit art school twice, and also 5 things I miss about it. This might be the first thing people think about when they're weighing up the decision. The cost of art school, like most education, is expensive. And for me, that expense just turned out not to be worth it. You really need to consider whether this is valuable to you, something that will help you grow and develop as an artist. Are the things you'll learn things that you just can't learn elsewhere? Do you thrive in a classroom environment? For me, the answer to both of those is no, and so the financial struggle just wasn't worthwhile for me. Something I really didn't expect from art school was the complete loss of creativity. And that sounds ridiculous because what could be more creative than art school of all places? But it just melted away from me until I felt no inspiration or joy from the art I was creating. And during art school, I created some of the most soulless art I've ever made. There was so little freedom of creativity, and we were expected to do everything in exactly the way that was taught to us with no deviations. Now, I'm a strong believer of learning art rules so that you know how to break them, but there was no breaking them. We were not allowed to do that. It simply wasn't an option. Everything was taught with very traditional values. No mixing of mediums that wouldn't traditionally be used together, or trying out new techniques that just weren't taught there. I went in a direction that I wasn't happy with for one of my early briefs, and it felt natural to want to move on from that and to change it, but I wasn't allowed to do that. I'd effectively locked myself into creating art that I genuinely hated and felt no creativity from, because of the very linear way in which they work. Going into art school, I understood that there was going to be written work, and that was fine, but what I didn't anticipate was spending weeks perfecting an essay that I truly felt was some of my best written work, only to be given a terrible mark at the end of it, with no direction and no comments on how I can improve or how I can move forward from that. It was self-led without being self-led, and I don't think I can find a good way to explain that, so if you have anything, leave it in the comments. I don't think I've had a loss of creativity in my entire life in the way that I did when I was at art school. Before going to art school, I didn't realise quite how self-led my high school art experience had been. It was only when I was suddenly faced with an incredibly strict classroom experience and environment that felt like the polar opposite of what I'd experienced previously that I realised I do not work well like that. I struggle a lot in a classroom environment, like many of us, and that is okay. But I wish I'd have realised that before going into art school. A lot of people love it and really thrive in that situation, in that kind of environment. I am not one of those people. I found that I was really struggling to keep up with deadlines, and there were so many deadlines. Art school was the first place I truly experienced artistic burnout. After dropping out, I did not create art for years. I quickly found that a lot of the things that were being taught in art school were things that I could teach myself, or that I'd already taught myself. I'm not saying that learning in art school doesn't have its benefits, it definitely does, but I personally find it so much more enjoyable and rewarding to learn these things myself at my own pace. The only thing like that I got from art school was the ability to try mediums that I just don't have access to outside of art school, and I'll cover a little more of that a little bit later in the video because that was one of the really good points. As I mentioned, something that I really loved from art school was the opportunity to work using mediums that I didn't really have access to, or never really had the chance to try, but what I hated was how little time you got to try those things. I loved learning to work with clay, but it was never for long enough before we were whisked off to do something else. If I were to consider art education again, I think I'd look into a short course more focused on a specific technique or a specific medium. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of that local to me, but maybe in the future. Anyway, that's enough about the reasons I quit and why art school wasn't for me. Let's talk about the things I miss about it and reasons that you might find it the right move for you. This one follows on from my last point, but I truly loved the chance to try out new mediums, techniques that I don't have access to outside of art school. Working with clay, for example, I don't have access to the space or finances to have a kiln or a clay workshop, so the chance to sculpt with clay in art school was an opportunity I really miss. And it can be such a great experience for learning to try different things that you've never even thought of trying or just don't have access to. I think that's really valuable. Honestly, this one had to have its own little section. I learned so much doing life drawing classes. It's one of the biggest things I miss from art school. And as far as I can find, there's nowhere local to me that I can do life drawing classes. And I know this might elicit a giggle from a few of you, but life drawing is such a valuable tool for artists. I honestly think it alone was worth the struggles I had in art school, and I do genuinely miss it. If you want to go further with your art, either in education or your career, it is so important to have a quality portfolio, and art school can give you the tools and the education you need to build a great one. I honestly believe that if you have a clear path for your art career and it includes needing a great portfolio, art school's super worth it. Along with a great portfolio, art school gives you an excellent base for building art contacts and networking. Contacts are super important if you want a stable career in art. They can really benefit you in that way. Those contacts could even just be fellow classmates from your art class. And as you all develop in your art styles and your fields, it can be invaluable to have those friends and those networks. Along with that comes art community, and if you've watched previous videos, you will know how important I consider art community. Art school is an amazing way to find people who love art as much as you do. I'm lucky to have managed to find this community outside of art school. For some, art school can be the perfect beginning of that. I really hope this video helped you out if you've been thinking about art school. If you decide to go, I hope it's a wonderful and invaluable experience for you. And if you decide that it's not the right path for you, I hope you know that you can still reach your goals without it, and you'll have a great time getting there. If you enjoyed this video, please drop me a like, and if you want to see more art related videos, don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to help me out with my current computer problems, head over to my Ko-fi, and have the best day.